All right, so we are back. Peanut Gallery. What are we doing for heckling for the hard camera?
All right, so like I said, it's going to be called Nonsensical Names. And what inspired me were the names of WWE's events over the past couple of years. We're talking Hell in a Cell. We're talking Elimination Chamber. We're talking a Money in the Bank. Oh, what about our favorite TLC, tables, ladders, and chairs, or our ever favorite Money in the Bank? While these events, these matches that these events are based off of are fine, I don't feel like these matches need nor deserve an event. And it's not that they don't deserve an event, it's that an event doesn't deserve them. They really need to be freed from those hokey event naming conventions that we have gotten used to.
Right.
Now, sometimes a gimmick makes sense. Let's talk about TNA's Lockdown, where every single match was fought inside the cage.
Right.
But again, that is because of the fact that every single event was a part of this match. Or traditional matches, where every Slammiversary for a number of years they had a King of the Mountain match. But that's just tradition. Even Money in the Bank itself was a WrestleMania tradition for a long time.
Right, but WrestleMania was not called Money in the Bank. It was called WrestleMania.
Right, but it was but that match was a tradition within the WrestleMania card. And despite the fact that they seem to have renamed the event and moved it to a new pay-per-view, they always have a multi-man ladder match at WrestleMania for whatever reason.
Right.
Can you please riddle me with that scenario?
Because it's always a very good match, a good chaotic match that gets the crowd pumping, because it's usually the first match on the show.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I was inspired by this. That, along with the fact that there are just way too many damn pay-per-views that WWE puts on, or specials, or whatever you want to say, that I think that we need to rename and reformat some of these WWE events.
Okay.
And we need to have we want to make pay-per-views feel a little bit special again.
Right.
So let's start. I'm going to start from January and go through December.
Okay.
So the January event, of course, is Royal Rumble.
Right. And
I mean, it's just one of those big...
It's a traditional thing.
It's a big four event.
Right. With the Royal Rumble, it's a little bit different because, number one, it was a great match. Mm-hmm. Pat Patterson made it. He was always like a guy who booked battle royals really well. And it's just one of those mainstays that kind of get you into the mood for WrestleMania.
So this is one of those gimmick pay-per-views that I'll keep around, but that's just sheer tradition.
Right.
It rings something...
Hell in a Cell is not going to be tradition, let's put it that way.
But I also said that every other month there's going to be a NXT TakeOver event along with it. So there should be an NXT TakeOver along with the Royal Rumble
100%.
in the same weekend.
Yep.
Let's move on to February. February, I said that we should definitely do Super Showdown.
Super Showdown. So why did you choose February for Super Showdown?
Well, because Super Showdown and Crown Jewel are two events that are taking place in Saudi Arabia, but I believe that they need to be canon. They need to be canonized pay-per-views.
Okay.
And here's the reason why, is because they are treated as such by the WWE.
Right. They build stuff to
They build stuff up, and then usually what happens is the week after they have one of their traditional pay-per-views, but no one watches it because they put all their good matches on Super Showdown.
Now, wait. Now, here's the thing, though. We did have a discussion about this very early in the newest incarnation of the Pro Wrestling Zone when we moved to Anchor about the Saudi Arabian relationship. Obviously, Super Showdown and another pay-per-view that we're going to be talking about have association with that, which is still very controversial. Would you keep the names? Why would you keep those names?
And here's the reason why I would keep those names, even if they move outside of
Saudi.
I think eventually they're going to move outside of Saudi, but I think that they should have an international pay-per-view in this specific late February slot.
Right, I do agree with you.
And the reason for that also is because then there's no other pay-per-view between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. When you have something that's leading up to WrestleMania, you need to give it more than a month build.
Exactly.
You need to give it a quality build. So Super Showdown, even if you don't treat it as canon, which, I mean, it pretty much is because they have world title matches every single time on these cards. And then what happens to their pay-per-view? It just is lost in translation because nobody gives a fuck about it.
Because these are the ones that everybody puts their money in.
Right. So I think that they should only have one pay-per-view between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. And if they were to do it next year, for example, they should do a Super Showdown card here.
We will most likely revisit the Super Showdown, the Saudi Arabia controversy, since we're on a new platform.
Right.
Because I definitely know that we'll have some questions about that, because it was a very early episode. This was like a year ago.
It was.
So it was definitely like right around when they started doing Super Showdown as a general event, and there were huge issues with it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like the name itself kind of holds some interesting baggage.
It does. It holds interesting baggage.
The international thing is a great idea. I would just name it something different than Super Showdown.
Right.
It sounds kind of hokey. That's the only thing.
Well, it is, but also they have to have those international shows.
I know.
Because of their contract. So if they were to do that, that would be where I'd put Super Showdown. Is between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania.
Once again, the placement is fine, but if it's going to be outside of Saudi Arabia, it cannot be called Super Showdown or Crown Jewel for
absolutely.
obvious reasons.
Right. Anyways, late March, early April, of course, we got WrestleMania.
We got WrestleMania. That's his tradition. It was a gamble. You just can't do anything with
an associated NXT takeover.
Right.
Or a 2-night WrestleMania with NXT superstars added into it, but we talked about that.
I feel like it would be a bad idea.
All right, moving on. In early May, we got Backlash. Not WrestleMania Backlash.
Not WrestleMania Backlash. That's
just
Backlash. It's a tradition right after WrestleMania.
Why is that? Because it makes sense within the context. Backlash is kind of the backlash.
People will get it.
Yes.
You don't have to say WrestleMania Backlash because people are like, huh? No, we're a little bit smarter than that.
We're a little bit smarter than that.
Come on. We know what a backlash is. You don't need to say WrestleMania Backlash. What other fucking gigantic event is right after the goddamn show?
Right. So anyways, very traditional spot. It brings back the
makes sense to the name
Backlash.
itself. Right.
All right. In mid-June, One Night Stand. I hate the name Extreme Rules.
I don't like the name One Night Stand.
I hate Extreme Rules. I like One Night Stand.
I have a different thing about One Night Stand.
And here's the thing about this. With something like One Night Stand, every single match has to have an Extreme Rules. Here's
my thing. Instead of something called One Night Stand, WWE owns a lot of different ECW named properties that were there. What about Hardcore Heaven? Or I just feel like One Night Stand implies to me as a adult something a little bit different than a wrestling pay-per-view. When a girl wants to say, do you want a one night stand, I don't think she's talking about a fucking wrestling event.
Well, get your head out of the gutter.
A one night stand to what? That's the problem. Unless you have ECW one night stand, this doesn't make sense.
But if it was between One Night Stand and Extreme Rules,
I would rather have Extreme Rules.
Well, let's not talk about the horror show at Extreme Rules.
Yes, that's very different. Once again, like WrestleMania Backlash.
But I'm trying to get rid of the
That's fine, but one night
stand.
I just don't believe one night stand is the right solution. Once again, ECW had a ton of different names for events of pay-per-views that they ran all the time. And they did it once before. December to Dismember wasn't That wasn't ECW named property back in the 90s.
It was.
Before the 2005 debacle. You have other things. You can call it like WWE goes hardcore or hardcore TV or hardcore heaven. There's a lot of different names.
Right.
I just don't think one night stand. Oh, I'm going to watch One Night Stand. What is that? The fuck is that telling anybody else?
But anyways, I think that the point of it being is
And,
that
like a more of a grungier, extreme style wrestling show kind of there. I don't mind that.
With an associated NXT event.
Right. So maybe something a little similar.
Yeah,
That'd be
exactly.
Cool. Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Maybe something outside in the field.
Mid-July, we got No Way Out or No Escape. This is our cage event. And it doesn't have to be Hell in a Cell every time. It doesn't have to be
Elimination Chamber. Okay, so once again, you and I had this huge discussion. Elimination Chamber as a name was a very bad idea. Not for the actual match name itself. I thought that was fine, but the problem...
But they have to rename it something different in Germany because of its connotations. So I say either No Way Out or No Escape. I like No Way Out because not only does it harken back to an older WWE pay-per-view name, but it also implies that it's a cage match in which there's no way to escape.
Right.
I think it makes sense. And then you don't have to have Extreme Rules. You don't have to have Elimination Chamber match every year. You don't have to have a Hell in a Cell match every year. You just have this where you're free to kind of choose what type of cage match would be most appropriate based on what's happening in the industry.
Right. No, that's fine. I get it. No, I get it.
But then every single match has to be a cage match.
Yes.
Every single match has to be.
Here's the problem with Hell in a Cell. It's either they do some of them or none of them, and the problem is you have to do either all of them or none of them.
Right.
Go ahead.
So anyways, late August, of course, we got SummerSlam.
Yep.
With an associated NXT TakeOver event.
And we will be going to SummerSlam here in August as well. We actually got tickets, so I'm really
Big
pumped for
Four, you can't go wrong with that.
Right, especially with something like SummerSlam.
Yep. All right, so we got our late September pay-per-view Clash of Champions.
I feel like this is a gimmick that works because champions are something that you always want to defend.
And it's like one of the only nights of the year where champions are on, where every single champion should be on the line.
It's a great little showcase. I like it. I don't have any problem with this whatsoever.
Yep, it is.
And also the name of the event, either Clash or Night of Champions. I feel like Night of Champions would work a little bit more because when you think Clash of Champions, you think a champion versus champion match. I just think Night of Champions would just be a better fit for it, but it is what it is.
All right, anyways, late October, Crown Jewel.
Once again, that connotation about what it is and what it's...
But remember, again, WWE...
Would this be another international super show?
It would be, yes.
Okay.
And I think that it's a good time for it, too, because usually in late October, people aren't watching a lot of pay-per-views because there's so much going on.
Right.
And there's so, there's...
You have Halloween, you have Thanksgiving, you have Christmas all in a row, and then New Year's. You have all those right in a row. People gear up for that stuff in, like, August, September even.
Right. But, again, you don't want to have an international event and then have a pay-per-view where nothing is happening because they put all
you're wasting time.
All the good matches on the international event. So
you're wasting time and you're wasting money.
Just have the international event be where it's at, and of course with WWE's partnership with Saudi Arabia, they're going to keep the Crown Jewel name, and they've traditionally done it in late October.
Right.
Late November Survivor Series.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, you gave me a fucking logo that had like a bunch of black on it. So
fun.
That was your fault here. Let me do that. There we go.
There we go. So, anyways.
I mean, we'll probably talk about Evolution at some point in time here soon.
But, yeah, sorry about that. So, anyway, Survivor Series, of course, traditional Big Four.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
Tradition. Always fun.
Yep, always fun. All right, then, December, we have Evolution or Revolution with an associated NXT TakeOver. And
here's my issue with this. And I hate saying this because I hate being a dick, but at the same time, why would you have an all-women's pay-per-view event without having an all-men's pay-per-view event?
I'm not saying that Evolution has to be an all-women's pay-per-view event.
That's the connotation that you get with it. I'm sorry.
Well, but that's just because they had only one event and it was an all-women's pay-per-view. My theory behind this is that mid-December, because everyone is so busy with other crap, this would be the perfect opportunity to get eyes glued to the screen, by doing something innovative. You
Maybe-
try something different
Right.
each year.
Evolution, maybe showcase some younger talents in some
Or maybe you
high-profile
have,
matches.
maybe you have an all cruiserweight pay-per-view. Maybe you have an all this pay-per-view or an all that pay-per-view.
I guess.
Or an all triple threat pay-per-view or something that's interesting, something that gets people to want to watch the event because you're trying
This is the
different.
This is the future of wrestling.
Right.
Let's do it at Evolution.
Like you have a maybe a Cyber Sunday-esque pay-per-view one year where you get the fans to be intrigued by the matches that are there.
Right.
You know, one of those things. You know how WWE, it was in the news, USA wanted WWE to do different things?
Right.
This is a great time to do it, and the reason why is because people are so busy with other crap that they probably wouldn't tune into a pay-per-view that is just like every other pay-per-view.
Right.
They want to tune into something because it's unique, and they want to see its foregone conclusion.
Right.
That is why I chose either Evolution or Revolution for it.
Right.
It just depends on the year, it depends on the concept. Who knows?
Right.
I mean, I think it's a good place to put it.
I think so too.
That's what I have for my WWE pay-per-views. I think I kept it generic enough, and I think I kept it...
I think I brought up some definite things about some name contention in there, but I do like it. I feel like a little bit more of a consistency of generic pay-per-views where anything can happen is actually better than, at Hell in a Cell, that's pretty much where only Hell in a Cell matches are going to happen, which we'll actually talk about in our wrestling lesson. But it will at least kind of give you an indication of what's happening.
But the important thing is you get rid of those stupid, gimmicky pay-per-views that don't live up to its hype.
Right, get Money in the Bank back somewhere else. Get WrestleMania.
Put Money in the Bank back at WrestleMania. I would rather much have it there. I liked Money in the Bank better when it was part of WrestleMania.
God, my head is bugging the shit out of me. I think I have allergies. So, yeah, no, I totally get it. So when we come back, we're going to be talking about Wrestling Lesson. And we're going to talk about the history of cage matches.
Hooray.
So stay tuned for that.